Community Heart Media. Your voice, your heart, your opportunity. Welcome to tonight's show.
Well, it's the Essendon Football Club show tonight. It's Community Heart Radio, and we're on 98.9 Northwest FM. I'm just getting that excitement of the Bombers, Julio. You should change that colour, that yellow, into red on your jumper, mate, one day.
Oh, should I? Okay. Can I add some yellow into that as well, or not really?
Yeah, we all should be Bombers supporters. Kelly, are you barracking for the Bombers tonight?
I am. But I was thinking when I was chatting on here before to Julio, I was like, I should be in my black and white, my true colours though, shouldn't I?
No, you're back in Australia now. And Peter Wright, it's great to have you on Community Heart Radio. How are you going?
Yeah, very good, Mark. Thank you. I used to be a Pie supporter, but I've seen the light and Bombers through and through, so hopefully we can get you across, Kelly.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Gee, mate, it's so good to have you on the show. We actually wanted you on the MCG on Anzac Day, Pete, because there was 95,000 people there, and we needed you to help us get across the line. How were you feeling on Anzac Day?
Yeah, I would have loved to have been out there. That's probably the one day you pencil in at the start of the season where you want to be playing. Obviously, finals aside, and that all the ceremony before the bounce is. I've been part of two of them now, and it's such a special time. The minute silence and around the ground with 100,000 people there, 95,000. It just is unbelievable, and obviously a very special day for the country as well. So to not be a part of it was tough to watch. I'm not a good watcher at the best of times, but in front of a big crowd like that, you just want to be out there.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, It's great to have Peter on Community Heart Radio. And if you're listening tonight, it'd be great to hear who you barrack for. Peter would love to answer questions of you. So we'd love to get you involved in the show nice and early. So why don't you say good day to Peter on the show and let him know who you barrack for and any questions you've got. Peter, just another quick one before we get on to you and about your life. The Bombers are out of the 8. What's going on, mate?
Yes, started the year off well, but a couple of losses against two of the best sides in the comp. I think it's been a bit tough the last couple of weeks. I think we're still playing some good footy, but still learning, and looking forward to bouncing back on Sunday against Port. Hopefully get a win, get back in that top 8.
There you go. See, he's confident. Now, just for Community Heart Radio, it's just us here, Pete. Are we going to make the 8 this year? Are you feeling confident about
that? Well, I'll say yes. I think there's a long way to go, but I think we're really starting to make some progress already. And I think if we can just continue to play, I guess it's a bit of a boring answer, but we just want to play our brand of footy. If we can do that for long enough in games, I think we'll be on the winning side of the win-loss leader for sure.
There you go, eh? So, all right, mate, we better go back a bit. What got you into football? Like, tell us about your story, mate.
Yeah, I guess I've loved footy pretty much since I was born. I think Mum always tells people when I was about 2 years old, I used to sleep with a footy under my arm or as my pillow. So it was always a big part of my life. I started playing Auskick, I think, when I was 4 years old. I was younger than most of the other kids who started, and just loved it from when I was really young. I think for me, it helped me, I guess, make a lot of friends, and that's one of the biggest pulls of footy, especially when you're young. You just get to go out and play with the kids you go to school with. When I was playing local footy, just schoolmates, and you go out there and you it's a bit more stressful now, so it wasn't stressful back then. You just go out there and really just enjoy playing with your mates, and I just loved sometimes I just kick the footy around by myself in the backyard or in the park for hours on end, but love being able to connect with people, and I love personally, I guess, just getting better. When you're young, you pick things up pretty quickly, and I love just working on different parts of footy. And I was just probably addicted to it, I think, at various stages when I was probably 8 to 14. It was really probably consumed my life, to be honest.
Pete, was there someone that you looked up to? And I'm going to be asking my questions from a football fan. I would say I'm amateur. Come from New Zealand, know my rugby inside and out. My brother played professional there too, and I remember his journey. Yeah, was there someone that you looked up to when you were young?
Well, as I said, I was a Pies supporter. I used to love watching Chris Tarrant just from a pure football perspective. He used to be a full forward and take big marks and kick goals, and I used to love watching him. And I think just when you're young, you just try and look for the best players, or players with big personalities that you like, and so I think for me, especially when I was younger, I used to have the little. I think he's number 20 on the back from memory. And I think it just changed from time to time throughout my childhood.
And Pete, you got called up to the Gold Coast Suns. Just run us through that moment when you first got picked to play for an AFL team.
Yeah, it was a very, very exciting moment. I think probably the 2 years prior was when it started to become a bit more real for myself, that I felt like I was probably going to get drafted, and it becomes a whole lot more stressful. As I said before, it used to be so fun and just stress-free because you're just going out there trying to play footy, play with your mates. And then my last couple of years, you're getting watched by recruiters, and everyone's probably, like different media people are writing what they think of your game, and there's all these rankings, and I probably got a bit caught up in it, a little bit stressed. And then I guess to be drafted, at the time I thought it mattered how high I went, but as soon as I entered the footy club, I realised how once you're drafted, all it is just getting there. That's like the starting point. I felt like that was the end point at the time, but once I was drafted, that was really the starting point, and my life changed from there. On draft night, drafted on, I remember it was a Thursday night, and then I was on a flight on the Sunday to go up to Gold Coast all by myself, 18-year-old. It was pretty confronting, pretty scary, I think. It just changes so quickly. I loved it. I think initially it was quite daunting for myself, just moving away from home, from everything you knew. It was really quite a challenging experience, but looking back, it was definitely, I would say, one of the best things I've ever done, because it just really made me speed up my development as a person, and my I just had to grow up and become a more independent person, which I got to say, really.
What did you have to do, Peter? I remember my brother and my mum, and she would say, "Scott, I'm having to cook 3 steaks per week, for example, for you," and he'd be trading morning and night, and all his trials, and just seeing his journey was, really, really amenable. Really, really, everyone just, but it was so driven, so ambitious. What training? What did you have to do to get to that first trial?
To get drafted, you're saying, or once I was drafted, or to get drafted?
To get drafted.
So you go through a variety of different talent pathways, and the higher you go, the more elite the training becomes, the higher the standards. I think if you play local footy, you're the best kid, or one of the best couple of kids in the team naturally, and you can kind of get by doing whatever. But as you progress through different stages, it starts to become really competitive. It was, I think I would have been going, I was 3 times a week, trained like a main skill session out in Craigieburn, which still thank mum and dad for doing that trip. That was 50 minutes both ways, 3 times a week. And then I used to do all my gym like before school. So I'd go into, like, catch some train into school at 7 in the morning in the middle of winter, freezing cold, and go do an hour and a half, probably 3 times a week as well. And then you play on the weekends. So it was pretty solid. It was definitely a fair commitment even before I got drafted. But once you're drafted, it becomes a whole different kettle of fish. It's so much more full on.
Yeah.
So you're at the Gold Coast Suns, mate, and you've been drafted. Just run us through your time there at the Suns, because it wasn't all smooth sailing for you, was it?
No, it wasn't. Definitely not. I think anyone who plays football for long enough has their fair share of challenges. I think it's never any just smooth sailing. There's a lot of things that come up. For myself, once I got up there, I had to adjust to, well, firstly the sunshine up there. It was being a redhead, it really hit me the first few weeks. Got a few sunburn a few times, but that aside, just adapting to living full time as a footballer, and then in your early years, you're probably given a bit of patience, a bit of time to develop, but which, you know, I think all footballers are in a bit of a rush once they enter a system, but you get kind of a bit of leeway. But then once you start, I guess, into your early 20s, it's really quite a cutthroat industry where you really it's a high performing industry where if you're not performing, you can find yourself in and out of the team pretty quickly. So I had a number of good years there, and holistically loved my time up there. Loved living up there. Really, as I touched on when I was a kid, when I was 5 years old, playing with mates, but had a really good group of friends up there as well, which I really valued and made going into work good fun as well. And then my last year or so was a bit more challenging with selection. I wasn't playing as well as I would have liked and had to work on a few things, and found that probably more challenging mentally. It was one of the toughest periods from a football perspective, but how that probably translated into life outside of footy as well. It was kind of all consuming at times, just trying to work through that and find answers to why I wasn't playing as well as I wanted, what the coach wanted. And that was probably a tough period. And
what helped you get through that time, Pete? Like, pretty tough period, not playing in the first, and, you know, got a lot of people criticizing or down, you know, just you're not getting picked and all that sort of stuff. So what helped you get through that period?
I'd say two things. I think first and foremost, my partner was really, really important to me at that time. Really important to find that balance away from football where I didn't get all consumed and I could go home and still probably enjoy some time at home with her. So she was incredibly supportive for me then. But I guess personally, I just wanted, what I was just basing myself on at the time was working hard and trying to be a good teammate. So making sure I was still going home at the end of every day feeling like I'd got the most out of myself, was still trying to get better and hold myself in a high regard. And then still just trying to bring that, like, be a good teammate by bringing positive energy and trying to, I wasn't playing, but still trying to, you know, help other people where I could, still be positive around the place. And I like to think that I was able to do that. And that's something I'm probably quite proud of, that even in a tough period for myself personally, I was still able to, I think, give back to the playing group.
Pete, was there any a time during that period where you were thinking, maybe I need to step away from footy? Maybe I need to be considering doing something else?
I don't think I ever thought about stepping away from football. I guess it's quite challenging when it's kind of all I knew to an extent. So I was really, I guess, hell-bent on seeing it through until someone's really going to have to tell me stop, like, you're no good or something. But I definitely thought about, I felt like I was having my beliefs challenged around what I thought I could do, the player I thought I could be. I felt like I thought one thing, but it wasn't panning out that way. And you probably have some honest conversations whether it's achievable or not. And I guess that's where the hard work comes in, which probably something I'll touch on a bit later, but how that probably helped me, even when it doesn't feel like you're making the progressions. But over time, some of the work that I was doing then, I know is helping me right now with how I was able to handle that and work through those situations.
See, Julio, the big thing here, the difference between you and I, mate, is that my team saw the potential, saw the unbelievable talent with Peter Wright. What happened to Richmond, mate? They didn't give him a call.
No, they didn't. Not at all. But I am curious, Peter, what was going through your head in this picture?
Yeah, not a lot. What am I? I was 18 and drafted, and give us your best smile, really. So that's hopefully I've progressed a bit past that. That feels like a lifetime ago.
Wow, so how did it feel when
it's an easy dig? I'm glad you can say that though. Tigs aren't going too well down the bottom of the ladder, so you can throw off all the photos you want.
That's it.
So what happened when Essendon gave you a call, mate, and they said, "Look, buddy, we need a full forward, we need a gun. Will you come and play with us?" How'd it go?
It's probably not as cut and dry as you'd think. It's not just like a business decision, because I felt like I'd set up a life up there. I was loving away from football, loving, my living arrangement, and my partner's she's half Tassie, half Gold Coast girl, so she felt right at home. And although I have family in Melbourne, it felt like I was in a sense leaving home. So it was a really challenging time to decide what was best. I think for a lot of the year I was hell bent on making it work at Gold Coast, and I think the writing was probably on the wall at the end of the year where just the best thing for me personally was to move on, although I think I was the last person to see it. I feel like everyone else was telling me to do it before I finally agreed to make the change. And but I will say once I did make that change, it's been one of the best things I've ever done to come back home and a fresh start with, I guess, something I really realised was you go into an AFL club when you're 18 and your eyes wide open, and yet I learned a hell of a lot. I was there for 6 years and really matured as a person and developed a lot. So then to come into a new environment, being a 24-year-old and feel like I know who I am a lot more, I found it was a really big thing to be able to walk into the club, I guess, a more confident person, not even just a player, just a more confident person to walk into a club. And I think that's probably helped me just start fresh, and I was really received in a really positive way at the club.
Do you feel like, Pete, the Gold Coast Suns, not only the team, but like you said, the living environment has quite a different approach than being here in Melbourne?
Look, my experience, like the club was a very good club. I think, like they've had their challenges over a number of years there, but it's not through lack of effort, especially from the playing group and a number of coaches who have put their heart and soul into it. Some of my best mates up there are incredibly hardworking and really just try and get the best out of themselves in the group. But they just struggle at different times, I guess. But Essendon is, I think, if I went to maybe somewhere like a Geelong or Melbourne that was a really mature club, I might be able to see the difference a bit more. But Essendon are quite young in their own right. I think we're actually younger than the Gold Coast list, so it still feels like a similar demographic where we're still really putting a huge value on development of our younger players, and I guess putting some similar systems in place around that, as opposed to maybe Geelong are much more experienced. They're a large part of their list know what their best footy looks like, and we have a slightly different environment to how we do.
You had an amazing year last year, mate, winning the goal kicking, the best and fairest. I mean, that must have been an awesome feeling.
Yeah, it was. It was a challenging year for the club, but I think for me it felt like just a bit of reward for effort over a number of years. As I touched on, my last year or two at Gold Coast, felt like I was working really hard for not much reward, but to slowly have it turned around, and I feel like I'm somewhere starting to get near what I thought I could do as a footballer, which is something that's really pleasing, but still always working on continually getting better. I think I've still got some big progress to go.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There you go.
And so Bomberland, Julio, we've got the big game coming up in a few weeks against Richmond. What are you thinking, Julio?
I'm still there thinking we still might have a chance, but by the way the year's gone, we're pretty much a bad omen at the moment, saying anything.
So what's it like down at Bomberland, mate, to be a player on the inside there with the teammates around you? Give us just an insight into the rooms, into the club, into the players.
Yeah.
What's going on in there? How's it feeling?
It's hard to paint a picture. I think we had a media and someone come in over the preseason, and they wrote up an article about the ins and outs of a couple of days inside the walls of the club, and it's amazing what probably we take for granted as players as just everyday actions that they pick up as like really interesting, mannerisms, or just the way just players and coaches interact with one another. So it's hard to, like, what I take for granted, you guys might find really, really bizarre. But I guess just at the moment, what I found in footy is football clubs are full of good people. I think players, coaches, the broader staff, that they're amazing people. I found that at Gold Coast, and you're always nervous to walk into a new club. But now that I've experienced it 2 clubs, I think it's consistent across the industry that you have to be probably a pretty good person to be in football. So I think there's an environment at the moment is one that's really, really positive. An environment where we're still very young and still really learning and trying to get a lot better. So a lot of hard work goes in. I think sometimes people judge what happens on game day and think, what are they doing through the week? Can't they just work harder? But we're at the club. We're at the club as 8-10 hour days, and it might not sound like much at times to people, but with the mental and physical toll it can take on you, it's such a strenuous job. It sometimes doesn't translate to what happens on game day. Like last year, we were putting a whole lot of work in for no result. It's nice at the moment where we feel like we're working hard, but seeing it translate to game day a bit more. But it's a positive environment, one where we're learning, and Brad's really driving that. Really, I think he's started to change the culture of the group and shift some of our beliefs and I guess shift what we think we can achieve.
When we
We're
say
looking on 98.9 Northwest FM, it's Community Heart Radio, and we've got Peter Wright from the Essendon Football Club, an ambassador with Big Brothers Big Sisters. And look, if you're watching on Facebook, don't forget you can put a message in Facebook, a comment there, and Peter can answer. So feel free to ask him any question, make a comment about your football team or his football team, which is of course the Mighty Bombers. Anything you like. And Kelly, I'm sure you're rapt that you chose the Bombers to support, eh?
Well, no, not necessarily. I'm still trying to understand a bit about my football and things. Peter, I was just going to say, when you say about, we know a lot about that, the physical training, but keen to know a bit about that too. What sort of thing do you have to do in terms of the mental training? When you're there 8 hours a day, there's a lot into it, isn't it? When you're playing.
Yeah, there is. I think just I do some mental training and try and find that balance outside of the club. When you're at the club, it's mental training in a way that it's full on, and everything is, I guess, in my day it feels like it's run to the minute. It's so specific. As soon as I walk in the club to the time I walk out, I feel like I've got a purpose and I'm doing something, and you're sitting through, and it's just a challenging day where you walk in, you go to make sure you get all your prep right for training. Then you've got to sit through an hour of meetings to absorb the information, give feedback to one another, and then you've got to try and go out there and get into a combative mindset and lock in for 2 hours of training. And then you straight into recovery, then into maybe more meetings in the afternoon, into gym. It's just a really just a taxing day just to be so switched on and I guess heightened in your senses throughout the day. So that's probably what I mean in terms of that training. We've had a lot of education over at Gold Coast and at Essendon with some mental skills and how to handle the anxieties around high performance, because it's probably different to a lot of jobs. I think I like to think, we always get a lot of feedback on social media or over the fence at times, and I like to think if someone was sitting at a desk job but they had someone else trying to stop them from doing their job, how would they go? Because that's what it's like for us on the weekend. We have someone else whose job it is to stop us doing ours. So it's
exactly.
It's a very stressful environment.
That's a good point you make there, Pete. And James Nolas has said something about what happened to the Bombers on Anzac Day. But look, one thing I wouldn't mind talking to you about, Pete, was when Langford was trying to pick up that ball, that Collingwood supporter wouldn't throw him the ball when he was getting that goal on the boundary, and then he kicked the goal. It was quite a classic moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was. He handled that so brilliantly. I think he probably could have got taken out of his focus area. We talk a bit about just to go off topic a little bit. We talk at the club about being in your A game or your B game. Your A game being operating your absolute best and really clear and in the moment, and your B is all the distractors like umpiring decisions and the fans and opposition. So I think it would have been really easy for him to be caught up in that little moment with the fan and be thinking about that, but he's able to refocus, execute perfectly, and then the celebration. I think that photo, he'll have that posted up somewhere at some point down the track. Kyle, because that was a pretty good moment, obviously.
It was,
but at the time, it was great.
What did happen in that last quarter? I mean, I can't, I wish for James's sake, I wish we'd have won that last quarter. But what happened, mate?
It's I guess footy is a real game of momentum over the last few years. We've seen that it's hard once sides get on top of you. They can kick 3, 4, 5 goals really quickly, and it goes both ways. I think we had the momentum just before 3/4 time, and we were able to put a few on and grow that lead out to 28 points. But what the good sides do is they always believe they can win, and Collingwood are definitely a good side that believe they can win from any position, and that just does put an added layer of pressure on you as a team trying to go out there and execute. And if we played another quarter, the momentum might have swung again. But I think we take the positives out of the 3 quarters where we played some really good footy and acknowledge that Collingwood are a good team and they're going to have it on their terms at times. And there's some things we could have executed better, but Collingwood are a good side. So we take a lot of learnings, a lot of belief, and a lot of growth out of that game.
Well, Jessica's a big Bomber supporter out there. So good on you, Jessica, for wishing go Essendon. Thanks, Peter. A little comment there. Fantastic. But Pete, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, this whole mental thing of football is so important, as you've spoken about, and you're injured at the moment. So how are you getting through that? I mean, that's a tough thing to be injured while all the other guys are playing, and for all the other players injured too. I suppose it's tough for them as well, eh?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely challenging. I haven't really had a long-term injury like this in a number of years, so it's a different challenge for myself. I think, there's 2 sides of it. I think I've been trying to get myself out of football a little bit, and that's quite easy Monday to Friday. I feel like I can get into a really good routine and stick to my rehab when I'm at the club, and it's not as nowhere near as stressful as playing football when week to week there's a lot of outside thinking going on. So that's been a positive. But then flip side of that is game day. I miss it like nothing else. You don't know how much you miss something till it's taken away from you, and I definitely felt that this year where I'm a bad watcher at the best of times. I think even when I was growing up watching Collingwood, I used to get quiet into the game, and it's no different now. I feel like I'm barracking at times, but you just want to be out there. One thing I'm really grateful I've done a lot of work on, I guess, is before I got injured, a lot of work with our mental skills coach around just my own identity and what I stand for as a person. And what we came back to was a little bit around I really believe in hard work, and I believe in excellence and trying to master your trade. And so knowing that and knowing I want to walk home, also drive home feeling like I've got the most out of myself, I've kind of just tried to shift that focus from pure football to rehab and transferred that instead of trying to master my craft, which is what we talk about at the club, just trying to get my football habits as good as they possibly can be. I've shifted that to just really zeroing in on my rehab and finding ways to, I guess, get better quicker. Things like just my diet, making sure I'm really well balanced in my diet. I've got daily exercises. It's how often can I do those, and just try and find ways to speed up. So I still feel like I'm going home with a feeling of satisfaction, which is, I guess, hard to get when you're in rehab. You feel a bit stuck and useless at times, but I still feel like I've been able to do that. I've been able to go home feeling like I'm getting better every day, which is.
I was just going to say, do you feel like what motivates you is when you've got that end point too? When you know that you've got that target date and you've got something to work towards. Yeah,
definitely. That's I think all footballers love just like a goal to work towards.
Yeah.
And they said initially it's about a 16-week recovery time, and I was like, all right, bang, I want to beat that. Initially, the first thought is how can I get back before 16 weeks, and I'll do everything I can to do that. If it ends up being 16, that's all right, because that was what was recommended. But if I can just put things in place to try and take out any wiggle room, any way to get better, so I can come back earlier. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And James was asking when you are coming back, Pete.
It's tracking well so far. I've got almost full range back into it, and I've still got. I think I've got another scan in. The specifics of it, I've got 2 weeks until I've got another scan to make sure the bone and the screws have all healed up. I've got a couple of screws and a plate in there. Make sure they're all fine, and from there we can start to ramp it up. So I'm targeting our buyers around 14. So if I can get back, just around then, before or after then, I'll be pretty happy, because that's before 16. So I'll take that.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, you've become the ambassador for Big Brothers and Big Sisters, a mentoring program. Why is that, mate? Why have you wanted to become an ambassador for Big Brothers, Big Sisters?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's something that I believe strongly in, having strong role models in your life. I think I've been very grateful. I've been very privileged in my life, where I've had pretty comfortable upbringing, and not to, I speak about my football challenges before, that can be nothing compared to what some young people have to go through. And I know when I had those challenges that, some people that were just a consistent sounding board in my life really had a big impact on how I was able to realign to my focuses day in, day out. And I guess the impact that can have on you as a person, instead of feeling like you just all at sea, get thrown around a little bit. So I've found that really beneficial in my life. And I've just, I've been learning, like just looking on the website and for myself, Mark, learning a little bit about what you guys do. And, I can't quote them off the top of my head, but some of the statistics with the difference that a role model can have in a young person's life. Clearly there's a big need for that. And, I want to support that as best I can.
So good.
It is good, Cal. And I mean, we all need role models and mentors, and that's what you are too, Pete. You're giving back because of that. And young people, there's a lot of young people out there. I know there's 747 young people need a mentor at the moment, and Pete and I are trying to help more kids get mentored. And so I really want to thank Peter Wright, Essendon Football Club, for being our ambassador. And, we're committed to trying to help more young people get those mentors. So important, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah, it is. It is. And we want to, obviously, you say there's over 700 kids who need it, and many more. But as many differences as we can make in young kids' lives, the better. And as I touched on it can be the one. Just having one person that you feel like is in your corner consistently can make a world of difference.
And Julio, you find that in your life, mate, having people, as you've been growing up, a mentor and someone helping you as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's very important. In my life, I've had a fair few good mentors and people that have really pretty much helped me grow and achieve what I want to do in my life. And I think it's very important just to have that, especially for males. I think for us, it's really a necessary thing. We really need someone in our lives that we can look up and just push us.
And we do have a dinner on the 25th of May, Pete, and I know you're coming along. We're both going to this arts dinner. That's going to be unbelievable, seeing a lot of art on display, art for sale at the Art Centre. Tickets on sale now. And you're looking forward to going, mate?
Yeah, I am. I won't be contributing any art. I'm absolutely useless myself on that front. But looking forward to coming along. I think I missed the last one. It looked like a really fun night, so looking forward to getting down to that and enjoying it. A nice meal and a nice night.
What about you, Kelly? Are you big on art?
It's same as Peter. I can't say I'm an artist, but I like going to I like going to see people's works at beautiful display and to have a good feed. Absolutely, definitely agree. And I was just going to say, to touch on that, in terms of mentoring, Mark, I think it's so important. I didn't grow up here, you can probably tell by my accent, but seeing in New Zealand, rugby is a huge thing, and growing up in a small regional area, many kids didn't have access to sporting facilities. And so we had 2 foster brothers living with us, and one of them went on to play professional rugby. And just having that mentoring and that support, my mum was an absolute star. Would take, like you're saying, Pete, 50-minute drive, she'd be the same. She'd be down there. Yeah. Dad would be exactly the same, taking them to football practice, picking them up. The food would be phenomenal, all the gear needed, the training and everything. And then to see him to go on to play for what's called over there the Hurricanes team, so a national team, same as, similar to football here, was phenomenal. But without that mentoring support, don't know what they would have been able to do. So highly, highly, highly recommend.
So if you want to meet Peter in person, come along to the Arts Dinner on the 25th of May. We'll put some advertising on our page, Community Heart Media, on the Facebook 989 Heart, on there on the Facebook page. And if you want to come along, it'd be great to see you there. I'm sure Pete would love to catch up with you as well. Still keen to have people's comments on the thing, because plenty more questions to go. And I think, we could dig down to some questions. And a lot of people check out when the team's losing. And it's not that we're losing. We had, as you say, we played the 2 best teams really in the AFL the last couple of weeks. But what about in the seconds, mate? Are there any players there that you think we've got to watch out for that may give put a bit of pressure on the main team?
There definitely is. I think we're a very young list with some pretty deep talent. It's just how quickly that those guys develop. Someone I'm working closer with is young Patrick Voss. He plays in my position and is just a bloody hard worker. So I'm a big believer in that hard work, and I think that'll get him somewhere. He's really keen to learn, and
he's been kicking a lot of goals in the seconds, hasn't he?
He has, which is a good first step for sure. So he's been building some good form, and what's important is that you need to be able to playing at an AFL level football for a long period of time before you get selected, and he's starting to do that, consistently impacting games, so that when he comes into an AFL team, obviously we want him to be more than ready, so that when he comes in, he can impact. So he's going really well. We've got who else?
What about Reedy? Reedy down the back line. How's he look?
Yeah, he's going well. He's just come back and played on the week. Sorry, the week we had the bye this weekend just gone, but week 4 he played his first game here. He'll be a very good player. He's taken a little bit of time. He's had more injuries than his fair share to this point. He's had quite a few back injuries, and it's just good to see him on the park healthy. Is a good first point of call, and from there he'll start to build some match fitness, and I'm sure we'll see him in the second half of the year, because he's too talented not to play AFL footy at a really high level. So he'll keep working hard as well. He's similar to Vossi. He really wants to get the most out of himself, and that's the type of people that I really identify well with, and I love working with him and trying to help him along. He's a key back, but we'll do some battle.
What about that other big ruckman, that big blonde ruckman in the seconds? What's he like? Do you think Ryan, he's going to make it? Yeah.
Incredibly talented player. Yeah, he's at his best. He's up there and challenging Drapes and Flip for that number 1 ruck spot. So at the moment, Drapes is, I think, he's clearly our number 1 ruck, and we need Flip's. Andrew Phillips is playing good footy as well, but we need all the big boys making sure that they're playing good footy, because pressure for spots is what makes people play some better footy. You don't get too comfortable, and you always want to feel like you need to play your best footy. So, we need Bristle. That's what we call him, Bristle. Nick Ryan continuing to play a really high level of footy, which he does do in the VFL at the moment. So.
Nicknames, hey, Julio. Wonder what your nickname was, mate, when you were playing footy, mate. What was your nickname?
Mine?
Yeah.
Because of my surname, I used to get called OJ. So.
Nice.
OJ.
Yeah.
You have a nickname, Kel?
My nickname? Oh, that was easy. Kellogg's. Combine the first name and the last name. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark?
Well, Waddy, I suppose. My surname. All sorts of different parts of that. So good and bad, like all nicknames. But gee, I'll tell you what, it's full on. Can you just run us through a day in the life of an AFL footballer? Because, like Julio sits at home all day just watching TV, but you'd probably do more than that in the AFL football land.
Yeah, I can run you through. Do you want to like a day like today in rehab or in full training?
Yeah, a day in rehab and then maybe a day in training when you're back out of rehab.
Yeah, I know how it's how you want me to go, but for me, it's up early and I got to the club at just before 8 today. We actually we're pretty lucky at the moment. We get, being part of a club like Essendon, a big club, we have access to a range of different, successful businessmen. And we had someone come in today who was talking to us about property. And so we had an hour seminar this morning, an optional one, where we just had to get to learn a little bit more around property and some ins and outs of that, which is really interesting. I think one thing the club does a good job of is trying to broaden our horizons. It's not just footy.
That's good.
You can have a career-ending injury at any point, really. So you can find yourself out of the system or delisted or whatever it is. It can come really quick, and you need to have not a backup, but you need to start building out what you're doing after footy. You can't just start thinking about it at the end. I've been doing uni for 6 years already. So we had that this morning, and then you just got to do a lot of prep stuff, make sure the body's good to go. A lot of stuff in the gym, which is knee loading and hamstring loading, calf loading, so that when you go out there and run around, you don't just ping a calf. We had line meetings and team meetings, which was about an hour, and then the boys trained, and I've started running this week, so it was nice to go have a run around. It was, I think, 10 degrees, raining and blowing a gale, so really good fun running up and down the sidelines. So out there for an hour and a half, and then I had some physio time and some specific rehab into another meeting about concussion we had today, and then I had lunch, had another hour or so of rehab exercises, an hour of gym, and then some recovery to finish, and then I was home at about 5. So pretty solid day today. The only thing different for the boys, they wouldn't have the rehab and they'd train for a bit longer. So there's as I was saying before, it's a pretty full on day, both physically and mentally, just trying to be on. If you're doing nothing at the footy club, you're generally doing the wrong thing. If you're doing nothing, you should be out watching edits or seeing a coach, or you can see dietitians or physios, masseuses. So you're always pretty busy at the club.
And the question's about Brad Scott. What's he like as coach?
Yeah, he's been really good. He really enjoyed it since he's got to the club. Initially, I said it quite a few times, he kind of took a step back and just was surveying the playing group and how we operated, and just directing the way he wanted train to go, but was kind of just overseeing how things were happening. And then I think that was the best way to do it. He kind of got a handle on everyone. Didn't just come in and say, this is my way, this is what we're doing. He kind of learnt what everyone's strengths, weaknesses were, and went from there. So he kind of had a bit of a foundation before he started putting his fingerprints on it, which I really, really valued. And what I found is he's an incredibly positive coach. He wants us all playing our best football, and he's all about just bringing your best to every contest, every game, making sure you're in a good headspace, but just trying to make sure, I guess, we're playing in roles that facilitate our strengths, and getting the best out of ourselves. So he's been really positive, really, really clear on what he expects, and I think we've seen that on game day. When I talk to players, they say that they've just got absolute clarity on what they need to do every game. So he's been really, really impressive so far.
And Pete, you were saying that you go to a seminar about property. Really interesting topic, especially at the moment.
Yeah.
And you're studying. What are you studying?
I was closely linked with what I'm studying, construction management. I've always been pretty passionate about about property, and I love design. If I was bringing things to the art show and I was a quality design side, I'd be an architect, but I'm just no good.
Cool.
So I really like it, but I'm no good at it. So I'll be a construction manager instead. I thought I'll build it. I won't design it.
There you go, multi-talented.
Now, Pete, how do you handle all these opposition supporters that have a go at you and say different things? Or like we've got a comment here from Milton asking if you want Sam Mitchell. He's obviously a disgruntled Hawthorn supporter. How do you handle all these people on social media that make all these different comments and all that as a footballer? Because you get good and bad, of course.
Yeah, and it's social media is something that's becoming more and more of an issue in society, something I'm really quite passionate about. I think the impacts it can have on people in high-profile positions like AFL footballers, you know, especially at Essendon, being a big club with a massive reach across the country. I've seen some quite, not sure the word, but pretty full-on social media abuse and bullying in my time at the club, and not, occasionally directed at me, directed at other footballers. I think every club has those 3 or 4 players that, for whatever reason, the fans seem to just not like them playing, and they just cop it. And we had a couple of guys last year that were, commented quite severely, and a couple of guys who need to take time away from the club, time away from football, because it's not purely the social media. It's the anxiety around performance and a lot of things. But some of the abuse can be quite quite startling to read when you think of who could possibly be sitting there thinking it's okay to write something behind the hiding behind a keyboard, something they would never say to your face. So I think there needs to be, to protect everyone really, just some kind of regulations around how we can trace back who says it. A lot of them are anonymous accounts.
100% agree.
Some kind of accountability towards it. But how I deal with it personally is really, I guess, shutting it off. I just, you don't want to go down a rabbit hole reading comments on a social media post. You don't want to invite those different views into your life, really, whether they're good or bad. You really want to, I think, for me personally, and I think for most footballers, it's steer completely clear of it is the best way to go. And I just purely am. I value my game on how the football club will see it, how coaches see it, not so much what supporters say.
Yeah, exactly. I agree, mate. Reading the pages of Essendon support crew, it's not a great read, and I wouldn't read it if I was a player either. They're very passionate. There's all these pages, thousands of people making all these comments, but not that encouraging sometimes. But mate,
I just think if you wouldn't say it to someone's face, you definitely shouldn't be writing on the keyboard. So we love the passion of our supporters, and I think every club loves the passion of their supporters, but you just got to think about what you're writing. Sometimes it can have more effect than you think.
Well, Julio, you'd agree that Pete's a great man. He's ambassador for a charity helping young people at Big Brothers Big Sisters. He's a role model, a key player of Essendon, of course. He's going to kick a lot of goals, especially against those Tigers, Julio. So just great having Peter with us. And we're going to move into the top 5. Peter's top 5. Really looking forward to these top 5 points. So Pete, we start with your number 1, and Julio's going to write them down for us, so we're going to feed them back to you. So what would be your number 1 tip in life?
Yeah, I wrote them down not specifically in order, because that sounds like a lot of pressure. Number 1 tip in life.
No pressure.
The first one I wrote down was win the morning. I think something I learned, it sounds small, but something that I learned in my time at Gold Coast, more so, being the sun comes up at 4:30 in summer sometimes. Just the importance of getting up and getting going in your day early. It can really set yourself up for success for the whole day. So it sounds small, win the morning, but just the importance of getting up, doing something that you love early in the day, whether that's just going for a little walk with your dog or just not sleeping in, laying in bed on your phone. That just doesn't start the right chemical process in your body. you find like you're chasing the day after that. If you have a slow morning, I think a lot of people will be able to relate. If you haven't done anything by 12 o'clock, it's a lot harder to do things after that when you feel like, oh, I'm just lethargic all the time. So one thing I love doing days at the club, I'll still get up I'll get up well before I need to be at the club to go for a coffee or do something that I love to do early, or in my days off, I'll still, excuse me.
Do you like that one, Kel?
I do, but I was going to say, Pete, my downfall is I'm a night owl. So what happens if you're a night owl?
Yeah, probably a tricky one. It's not something my girlfriend used to say I was not a morning person. I've tried to work my way into it, but I think it's just once you wake up, just not just lazing around. I think once you wake up, just try and get up and get moving. I find there's a snowball effect. If I start with a productive task, it'll just snowball throughout the day. And if I get everything done by midday, that's great. I feel good about my day all day, as opposed to chasing the day. And I just have found that's
love that really positive start to the day, mate. Positive start to the day, positive start to the game. First quarter, always ahead. I like that, mate. I like that.
Right.
What's number 2?
One, which if I was probably ranking them, is the importance of mindfulness. Just finding ways every day to be mindful in your day, trying to stay present. I do things like I'll disconnect from my phone completely. I think we're all too attached to our phones, and I am as well. But going for a walk and leaving my phone in the car, so it's just me in nature. I love getting out in nature and doing something as simple as trying to list down in your head all the things you can hear is just a way to try and keep your mind really present in the moment. I love being in nature, being away from my phone, and trying to just think of where my feet are, and try and find ways. It could be that, it could be every night I'll do a mindfulness practice where I'm just conscious of I'll listen to a something on the calm app, and just try and be really present. But finding time in your day to be present, I think, is a good grounding thing that I've learned, and still have a long way to go in growing. It's a growing space and something I enjoy exploring.
I'm loving this. This is going to be good for your book when you finish your career, mate. It'll be a good chapter in your book. Pete's 5 life tips. What's number 3, mate?
Number 3, just as an athlete, I really value physical exercise. So the value of that, it's to different degrees. I think some people might go for a 10K run. Again, some people might go for a walk with a dog. That's a frequent one for me, but it's such an easy one. Just how that really does release those endorphins, and it's a great way of stimulating yourself. And I've just found when I had my shoulder and I wasn't allowed to exercise for 2 weeks, and honestly the mental effect it had on me, being able not to train, I wasn't allowed to sweat to hurt the scarring on my shoulder. Just not being able to do anything for an extended period of time really had an effect on me mentally. I felt I felt worse in my body. I felt lazy, felt really slow, and I just find physical exercise is a great leveler for me. If I do that, maybe not every day, but as often as I can, I feel better about myself. So I just think it's a controllable one for a lot of people, and it's amazing how often that can be not a magic cure, but it can really help how you're feeling about yourself mentally.
Do you often find, Peter, when you like you said, that endorphins, it helps you to really gain that clarity? And sometimes you might, like you said, whether it got big 10K walk the dog, you come back feeling refreshed and right, that's the direction I want to head in. That's how I often find anyway.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So like that one. It's again easy as an athlete. I'm fit and able, but for different people it might look differently. It could be swimming, it could be, as I said, just a little stroll, but it makes a difference. So that's 3.
4?
Number 4 is just that hard work pays off over time. I'm a big believer on this. I've seen it time and time again with myself, with a lot of other people in football, that if you do the work, Sometimes when it feels like it's not going to, the dam wall's not going to break is when you're really as close as you possibly been. If you can just keep continually turning up and putting the work in, it'll turn for you. As we touched on it, that's what's happening with my football, but it is just genuinely putting hard work in day out in whatever it is. You'll get results. So I think that one really speaks for itself, but it's something I'm just a firm believer in. I've seen it countless times since I've been in football, how it works in football and in life. So that's
I'm loving your 5 points, mate. And what's the last one? They're all very
the last
good.
one's a bit different. I've written it down as it says say yes to everything, but it's just really just saying yes to opportunities. When I first got drafted, we've got like a player welfare manager, and I'm in a new state. I know knew the one kid I got drafted with, but that was about it. It was about if you get asked anywhere for a coffee, say yes to it. If you get, Mark, if you ask me to go on this radio show, say yes, because you never know what might come of it.
It's a really good outlook. Really good.
Could be just, you make a better connection with a person, or you could, you could find a way to network, and who knows what could come of it. But you might meet someone who's really makes a big impact in your life. Just saying yes to, not everything, but say yes to these opportunities. If you have a 50-50, we're on the side of saying yes, because you just never know what doors it might open up.
Very true.
That's my fault.
Well, gee, I tell you what, we've nearly run out of time. We could be here all night talking, because it's just so good talking to Peter Wright from the Essendon Football Club. He's the best and fairest, the leading goal kicker last year, and really so good to have him on the show on Community Heart. Julio, let's run us through his top 5.
Okay.
If you can shorten that, it's a bit of a waffle.
Number 1, win the morning. Set yourself up for the day.
Yeah.
Number 2, importance of mindfulness. Spend time with nature. Number 3, the importance of physical exercise. Do something physical every day. Number 4, hard work pays off over time. Maintain determined and focused. And number 5, say yes to opportunities.
Fantastic. They're really great, Pete. And I think you've already made a difference with Milton Wild. He said, good points, Peter. So you've turned his attitude around, which is fantastic. That's really good. No, it's been great having you, mate. And Julio, it's been a good show, eh?
It's been a fantastic show. Thanks for coming on. It's been brilliant.
Kelly, what do you think?
Yeah, thanks, Peter. And I might have to start to be supporting Essendon, I think. Maybe you've changed.
If we can convert one every podcast, I'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Pete, that's it. Final word from you to all the Essendon supporters listening. We're all here, all barracking. I know everyone wants to see you at the Big Brothers Big Sisters art dinner on the 25th of May. So you'll be able to see Peter there. He'll sign your autograph. But Peter, what do you want to say to the Essendon supporters as we wrap up the show here on 98.9 Northwest FM Community Heart Radio?
Well, first of all, looking forward to seeing you at the Arts Centre, Arts Auction Centre dinner. What is it? What's it called? Arts Auction.
The Arts Dinner, mate, at the Arts Centre on the 25th of May. Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Come and see Peter Wright.
Mark's got it sorted. Yeah, well, looking forward to that, and just love the Bombers support. Love the Bombers faithful. We love our passionate supporters, and looking forward to a strong season ahead. Go Dons. Go Dons.
Come on, Julio, you can say it. Go Dons, eh?
Oh, I'll try. I would say inside. I'm feeling it.
All
right.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, guys, eh? And we'll see you next week, everyone.
See you, everyone.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Tune in every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. or watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and follow us on LinkedIn and other social media.